Hi everyone, I'm Sabi from Camera Collective, and today I'm introducing to you a lens that was perhaps the most anticipated by everyone this year. It's none other than the new Sigma 70-200mm F2.8 DGD and OS Sport version, which I can already see will be the king of telephoto zoom lenses for mirrorless cameras. But let's not get ahead of ourselves and let me show what it can do. As you can see with the 70-200mm focal length, you can capture very exciting and dynamic shots. But let's talk about its usability a bit later. Now let's look at its external features and build quality because there are plenty of innovations here. The lens is not a giant at all and much more compact than its predecessor, making it perfect match for small, lightweight mirrorless camera bodies. Its height is just a little over 20 centimeters and it weighs around 1300 grams. So there is some weight to it, but I didn't really feel it as a disadvantage during use. In fact, in many cases it can significantly help in capturing stable images. The lens has almost all kinds of switches and buttons. We have an AF/MF switch, a focus limiter, an optical image stabilizer switch, custom C1 and C2 switches, 3 fully customizable function buttons, and 2 additional switches for controlling the aperture ring. One of them locks the ring in A mode or manual aperture values, while the other controls the clicking or smooth adjustments of aperture values. Next to the aperture ring, we also find a narrow but finely adjustable focus ring and a wider zoom ring, which operates internally, maintaining the lens size constant during zooming. Unfortunately, the zoom ring is further from the camera body and the focus ring is closer, which I regret a bit because I personally find it more comfortable when the zoom ring is closer. However, this is a matter of personal preference and some may find it more logical this way. What is certain though is that the lens body is extremely robust and very well built, a real pleasure to hold. The lens has a filter diameter of 77mm and due to its size, it also has a tripod mount, which is also Arca Swiss standard, a feature we all love because it means we don't need a separate plate for these types of tripod heads. Moreover, this mount can be adjusted anywhere and it neatly fits into the markings every 90 degrees. The lens hood is a large piece that can be securely fastened with a knob, helping against glare, and it well protects the front lens element since it's quite a solid piece. But enough about the design, let's move on to its use and various functions. As usual, it comes in Leica L and Sony E mounts. I tested it with Sony bodies and oh boy, this beautiful lens can really perform. In terms of autofocus, image quality, stabilization, and many other functions, it's fantastic, so let's take a closer look at each of them. I always mention that the new DGD and Sigma lenses are practically unbeatable in autofocus, delivering at least the same level as the manufacturer's native lenses. Initially, I was a bit concerned about how this would hold true for the 70-200mm, as these focal lengths demand more from the autofocus motors. But after some test shots, all my fears vanished because the lens worked at a crazy good speed. Whether at 70mm or all the way to 200mm, it kept the focus on my face as if a professional focus puller were operating it, and I was not just walking towards the lens but straight running. This was all in video mode, which is a more challenging task for the lens. Needless to say, it performs at an exceptional level in photo mode as well. I also tested it at 200mm, adjusting the focus from almost the closest point to infinity, and as you can see, it not only did this quickly, but practically instantly, literally in a moment. So autofocus is incredible, but what about image quality? Honestly, I have wanted a 70-200mm for a long time because it opens up a completely different world when shooting with such a lens. The zoom range is excellent, especially at 200mm, where the distance is compressed and it creates interesting layers. Using this lens was already a great experience for me, but looking at the images on the computer, I wasn't disappointed in the quality either. The images at full open aperture of f2.8 are razor sharp, colors are beautiful and contrasty, and the background blur is absolutely smooth. One of the great things about the 70-200mm is that even at f2.8, you can blur the background so nicely that it becomes a perfect tool if you want to separate something or someone from the background. And of course, you can easily and secretly capture a few very good moments like this. The optical stabilizer has been mentioned before, but I haven't shown you what it can do yet, so let's cover that now. According to the specs, the lens is capable of stabilizing up to 7.5 stops, which I cannot measure precisely, but I can show you what it looks like turned off and on. So here you can see first at 70mm handheld with optical stabilization turned off, and now turned on. I think you can see that there is a huge difference and we get a much more stable image. At 200mm, it perhaps even more noticeable, also handheld turned off and now turned on. So the stabilization works really well in this lens. But what haven't we talked about yet? Well, optical aberrations, which we will quickly cover as there are not many of them. In chromatic aberration testing, I got one of the most surprising results because at wide aperture settings, zoom lenses can easily show ugly magenta or green fringing at contrasty edges. However, here it was practically non-existent. Even when zoomed in, I had to look for it with a magnifying glass. Moreover, this was the case at both 70mm and 200mm, which was a truly huge positive surprise. Vignetting is present, which I think it's not particularly disturbing and often fits well with this visual style. It clears up around f5.6 at the 70mm end and around f8 at 200mm. Distortion was nothing crazy, especially not at 70mm, where only minimal barrel distortion is detectable. This is also true for 200mm, where it's only slightly more intense. And of course, these issues can be easily corrected with a click using Lightroom's lens distortion correction profile. Finally, for the end of the video, I saved one of the lens's, if not the best features, namely focus breathing. I can say that at 70mm it's practically zero, and even at 200mm I only notice it very minimally at the edges. This makes the lens perfect for videographers who like to draw attention with serious focus pulls. So overall, I believe Sigma's new 70-200mm has become one of the best lenses of the year, and it's no coincidence. With such quality, it's priced at almost half of the Sony version, around $1,500, and it even offers more in certain aspects. Owning a 70-200mm has been a long-time desire of mine, and I was so impressed by this one that I will definitely get one for myself. Unfortunately, I can't keep this one and it will be returned to Sigma. Nevertheless, this would have been the review of the new Sigma 70-200 DGD and OS Sport lens, so that's all I wanted to say in this video. If you liked it or found it useful, please let me know in a form of a like, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content like this, and leave a comment about your opinion of the new Sigma 70-200mm lens. Thank you very much for watching and see you guys in the next video.